Commander Alex stared at the dead control panel. 3 days had passed since the main engines failed. 3 days of floating in the endless black of uncharted space. 3 days of watching hope fade like the dimming emergency lights of the Star Weaver. "Any luck with the comms?" Alex asked, not bothering to look up. The answer would be the same as the last dozen times. Navigator Tom shook his head. "Nothing. Our distress signal is broadcasting, but we're too far from any trade routes. No one will hear it out here." The Star Weaver was a research vessel, not meant for the deep void where they now drifted. Their mission had been simple: collect data from the outer systems and return home. But simple missions could still go wrong. Engineer Kay entered the bridge, wiping black fluid from her hands with an already stained cloth. Her face told the story before she spoke. "The engine core is completely dead," she said. "The crystal matrix shattered when we hit that radiation pocket. We have no spare parts that could even begin to fix this." Dr. Ben looked up from his station, where he had been calculating their remaining supplies. "How much life support do we have left?" Kay's shoulders dropped. "At current usage? 10 days. Maybe 12 if we power down everything but the most basic systems." Alex walked to the viewport. Stars stared back, cold and distant. Their beauty seemed cruel now. "We need to make hard choices," Alex said. "We should enter the sleep pods. It will extend our oxygen supply." "And then what?" Tom asked. "We just hope someone finds us before the backup power fails too?" Alex turned to face the small crew. They were all Nexar, a species known across the galaxy for their advanced technology and logical thinking. Their silver-blue skin reflected the emergency lighting, making them look even more ghost-like than usual. "Yes," Alex said simply. "Hope is all we have left." The next day, they shut down all non-essential systems. The Star Weaver's corridors became dark tunnels, lit only by strips of floor lighting. The temperature dropped as heating was reduced to minimum levels. Kay worked to reroute power to the distress beacon, making it the priority after life support. "If anyone comes within range, they'll know we're here," she said. But her voice lacked conviction. In the small dining area, the 4 crew members gathered for what might be their last meal together. The food, protein packs designed for efficiency rather than taste, did nothing to improve the mood. "The Nexar High Council won't send anyone to look for us," Tom said, breaking the heavy silence. "We're too far off course. They'll mark us as lost and move on." No one argued. The Nexar were practical to a fault. Risking more ships and crews to search the vastness of space for one lost vessel would be considered illogical. Ben pushed his half-eaten food away. "My family will perform the remembrance ceremony. They'll place my items in the family shrine and speak my name to the stars." His voice cracked slightly. "I always thought I would die old, surrounded by generations of offspring." Alex reached across the table and placed a hand on Ben's arm. "We're not dead yet," but they all knew their chances grew slimmer with each passing hour. On the 5th day, the ship's computer detected a small asteroid field in their drift path. Without engine power, they had no way to change course. "The shields are at minimal power," Kay reported. "They'll stop the smallest rocks, but anything larger." She didn't need to finish. For 6 tense hours they watched as the Star Weaver floated through the field of space debris. Each impact made them flinch. The shields flickered with each hit. A rock the size of a fist slammed into the hull near the supply section. Warning lights flashed. "Hull breach in storage section 3, the computer announced in its flat voice. "Sealing bulkheads," Kay said, fingers flying over the emergency controls. When it was over, they had lost nearly half their remaining supplies. Their timeline had just shrunk dramatically. "We need to enter the sleep pods now," Alex decided. "We can't wait any longer." The sleep pods were located in the medical bay. Originally designed for injured crew members who needed special care, they could also preserve life by slowing all bodily functions to near zero. "I've programmed them to wake us if a rescue signal is detected," Ben explained, as he prepared the pods. "Otherwise, they'll keep us in suspension until power fails." "How long will that give us?" Tom asked. "With just the pods running on emergency power?" "Maybe 2 months," Kay answered. "After that?" She didn't need to explain. Alex looked at each crew member in turn. They had served together for 3 years. They were more than colleagues, they were family. We should record final messages, Alex suggested. In case. No one objected. One by one, they sat before the ship's log recorder and spoke to loved ones they would likely never see again. When it was done, Alex made a final captain's log. This is Commander Alex of the Nexar research vessel Starweaver. We have suffered catastrophic engine failure in Sector 12 Kappa. Coordinates are attached to this message. We have entered suspension pods to extend our survival time. If you find this ship and we still live, we thank you. If not, please inform the Nexar High Council of our fate and send these messages to our families. Alex paused, then added, to whoever might find us, we did not go gentle into the dark of space. We fought until the end. The pods hummed with quiet energy as Ben activated each one. Kay went first, then Tom. Alex watched as their breathing slowed, their silver-blue skin taking on a frosted appearance as the preservation chemicals took effect. Ben stood by the last 2 pods. After you, Commander. Alex shook head. Captains go last. Ben nodded in understanding. It has been an honor serving with you. And with you, old friend. After Ben was safely in suspension, Alex took one final walk through the silent ship. Emergency lights cast long shadows down empty corridors. The Starweaver had been a good ship. It didn't deserve this lonely end. In the bridge, Alex touched the main console one last time, then pulled up the external camera feed. The ship was alone in the vastness, a tiny metal bubble surrounded by infinite darkness. Someone find us, Alex whispered to the stars. Please. Back in the medical bay, Alex climbed into the final pod. The lid closed with a soft hiss. Cold mist filled the chamber. As consciousness began to fade, Alex had a final thought. In the vastness of space, what were the chances anyone would find them before it was too late? The answer came in dreams of ice and darkness. Captain Jack stretched in his chair on the bridge of the horizon. The human exploration vessel had been mapping this sector for 3 weeks now. It was boring work, but necessary. Earth needed new mining sites, and this unexplored region of space might hold valuable resources. How much longer until we finish the scan of this quadrant? Jack asked, stifling a yawn. Lisa, the communications officer, checked her screen. About 6 hours, Captain. Then we can head back to base as scheduled. Jack nodded. The crew of 12 had been away from home for nearly 2 months. They were all ready to return, to feel solid ground beneath their feet again, to see blue skies instead of endless stars. Captain, Lisa said suddenly, her back straightening. I'm picking up something strange. Define strange, Jack said, moving to her station. It's a signal, very weak, using an old frequency we haven't seen in years. Her fingers moved across her screen, adjusting settings. It's a distress beacon. The bridge fell silent. In the vastness of space, a distress signal was both rare and important. Can you trace it? Jack asked. Lisa worked her controls for a moment. Yes, it's coming from about half a day's journey off our planned route. Mike, the navigator, frowned. That would put us well behind schedule, Captain. The company won't be happy if we're late delivering the survey data. Jack ran a hand through his short brown hair. Put the signal on speaker. A moment later, a repeating pattern of beeps filled the bridge. It was mechanical and emotionless, but to everyone listening, it might as well have been a scream for help. Any idea who it belongs to? Jack asked. Lisa shook her head. The frequency is old, at least 20 years out of date. It's not matching any current human emergency protocols. Alien, First Officer Rob suggested. Possibly, Lisa agreed. But I can't identify which species. Jack paced the small bridge. The choice wasn't easy. Diverting course would mean delays, paperwork, and possibly danger. Unknown alien encounters were always unpredictable. What do we do, Captain? Rob asked, knowing what Jack was thinking. Jack stopped pacing. What would we want someone to do if that was our signal? The question needed no answer. Mike, plot a course to the signal source. Lisa, keep monitoring in case there's any change. Rob, prepare the medical bay for possible survivors. Yes, Captain, they responded together. And alert the rest of the crew, Jack added. Tell them our vacation just got postponed. 12 hours later, the horizon approached the source of the distress signal. Visual contact, Mike announced, putting it on the main screen. The view screen showed a ship drifting against the backdrop of stars. It was sleek with curved lines that suggested speed and grace when it had been operational. Now it hung lifeless in space, only a few external lights still blinking weakly. Scan it, Jack ordered. Hull is intact, but I'm reading a small breach in what appears to be a storage section, Rob reported. Minimal power signatures, the ship is running on emergency systems only. Life signs? Jack asked. Rob adjusted the scanner. Yes, 4 of them. Very faint. They appear to be in some kind of suspended animation. Jack leaned forward. Can you identify the species? The ship design and life signs are consistent with Nexar technology, Rob said. They're not common in this sector. Must be a research or exploration vessel that went off course. The Nexar were known to humans but not familiar. Their silver blue skin and advanced technology made them somewhat mysterious. Relations between humans and Nexar were neutral. Not friendly but not hostile either. How long has that ship been drifting? Jack asked. Lisa checked her readings. Based on the beacon's power degradation, I'd estimate about 2 months. 2 months. Jack tried to imagine being lost in space for that long, watching systems fail, waiting for a rescue that might never come. Captain, Rob said quietly, their life support is failing. Those stasis pods are running on the last of their emergency power. I'd give them 3 days at most before they shut down completely. Jack nodded grimly. Then we have work to do. Prepare a boarding party. We need to get those people out of there. 2 hours later, Jack led a team of 5 toward the alien vessel. They wore environmental suits, not knowing what conditions they would find inside. The Horizon shuttle carried them across the short distance between the ships. Remember, Jack told the team, these are Nexar. They're logical, precise, and probably scared out of their minds. We go slow, we stay calm. The team included Rob, Dr. Sam, and engineers Kelly and Mark. They were the best the Horizon had to offer. Approaching the airlock now, Mark reported from the shuttle controls. I'm detecting minimal atmosphere inside the ship. Suits will be necessary. The shuttle docked with a gentle thud. The team checked their equipment one last time before cycling through the airlock. They entered darkness. Their helmet lights cut through the gloom, revealing a corridor that curved gently ahead of them. The air was thin and cold. Power's almost gone, Kelly observed, checking her scanner. Life support is at less than 10%. Let's find those stasis pods, Jack ordered. Sam, which way? Sam consulted his medical scanner. Life signs are coming from that direction, he said, pointing down the corridor. About 50 meters. They moved carefully through the silent ship. Emergency lighting gave everything a blue tint, making the metal walls look like ice. Their footsteps echoed in the emptiness. Fascinating design, Mark commented, running a gloved hand along a wall panel. The Nexar are known for their engineering, but I've never seen one of their ships up close. Focus, Mark, Jack reminded him. Sightseeing comes later. They found the medical bay on the second deck. The door was partially open, stuck in place when power had begun to fail. Kelly and Rob forced it the rest of the way. Inside, 4 stasis pods hummed faintly. The blue glow from within illuminated the faces of the Nexar crew. Their silver blue skin had a frozen quality, covered with a thin layer of frost from the suspension process. Sam immediately went to work checking the pod's status. They're alive, but just barely. These pods were never meant to run this long on emergency power. The preservation chemicals are starting to break down. Can they be moved? Jack asked. Sam nodded. Yes, but carefully. We'll need to keep them in stasis until we can transfer them to our medical bay. How much time do they have left? Rob asked. Sam looked grim. If we hadn't found them, maybe 2 days. The pods would have failed and... He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. Then let's not waste time, Jack said. Kelly, Mark, stabilize the pod systems for transport. Rob, help Sam prepare them for movement. I'm going to check the bridge, see if I can find out what happened here. As the others went to work, Jack made his way to the Nexar ship's bridge. The story he found in the ship's logs was both simple and tragic. Engine failure in deep space, no way to repair it, and a slow countdown to death. The final log entry from the commander touched him deeply. To whoever might find us, we did not go gentle into the dark of space. We fought until the end. Jack touched the console gently. You did, he said to the empty bridge. And it worked. We found you. Now they just had to finish the rescue. The Nexar ship's stasis pods arrived in the Horizon's medical bay. Dr. Sam worked quickly, connecting them to the human ship's power systems. The blue glow of the pods strengthened as they received full power for the first time in months. Will they be all right? Captain Jack asked, watching Sam check the vital signs displayed on the pod monitors. Their bodies are stable, Sam replied. But these chemicals they use for stasis, they're different from ours. I'm not sure how to safely wake them. Engineer Mark studied the Nexar pod controls. The system is complex but logical. I think I can figure it out. He pulled out a small device and began scanning the alien technology. The Nexar language uses mathematical patterns as a base. If I can decode that, how long will it take? Jack asked. Mark shrugged. A few hours, maybe? Less if Kelly helps me. Do it, Jack ordered. In the meantime, Rob and I will see what we can salvage from their ship. He turned to Sam. Keep them stable. Let me know immediately if anything changes. Back on the Nexar, Vessel, Jack, and Rob gathered personal items, data cores, and ship logs. These people had been adrift for months. The least the humans could do was save their memories and research. Captain, Rob said, holding up a silver disc. I think this is their equivalent of family photos. There are images stored on it. Jack nodded. Pack it all. Everything that might be important to them. 6 hours later, Mark called the captain to the medical bay. I've got it, he said, excitement clear in his voice. The wake-up sequence. It's actually elegant once you understand. The pattern. Are you sure? Jack asked. We can't afford mistakes here. I'm sure, Mark said confidently. They designed their systems to be understood by any species with basic mathematical knowledge. It's like a universal language. Jack looked at the 4 aliens sleeping in their pods. All right, wake the commander first. Commander Alex felt cold, then warmth, then sensation returning to limbs that had been still for too long. Consciousness came back in waves, each bringing more awareness. The stasis chemicals were breaking down, allowing thought to return. Something was wrong. The wake-up sequence was happening too fast. Emergency protocols? Had the ship's systems failed completely? Alex's eyes opened slowly, vision blurry at first. A face came into focus above the pod, not Nexar, pink skin, hair on the head, eyes round and dark. Human. Alex tried to speak, but the throat was too dry. The pod lid was open now. The human said something, the sounds strange and unfamiliar. Another human appeared, offering a cup of water. Alex took it with shaking hands and drank carefully. The water was cool and clean. Where? My crew? Alex managed to ask in broken universal trade language, a simple form of communication used between species. The human with dark hair seemed to understand. Safe, he said in the same language, pointing to the other pods. Still sleeping. You are first. Alex looked around. This was not the Starweaver. The medical bay was different, designed for human bodies, with bright lights and equipment Alex didn't recognize. I am Jack, the human said, placing a hand on his chest. Captain of Horizon human ship. We found your distress signal. Alex, the Nexar replied weakly. Commander of Starweaver. How long? 2 months, Jack said. Your ship was drifting. Almost no power left. 2 months. The pods had been designed to last 3 at most. The humans had found them just in time. Thank you, Alex said, the words feeling small compared to the enormity of what these aliens had done. Over the next day, the rest of the Nexar crew was awakened. Dr. Ben recovered quickly, immediately helping Sam understand Nexar physiology. Navigator Tom was more wary, watching the humans with suspicious eyes. Engineer K was fascinated by the human ship, asking endless questions that Mark tried his best to answer. Communication was difficult at first. The universal trade language was limited, meant only for basic commerce between species. Mark had a solution. "I've been working on this," he said, showing Alex a small device. "It analyzes speech patterns and creates translation algorithms. The more we talk, the better it gets." Alex took the device cautiously. Nexar were not known for trusting alien technology, but they had little choice now. "Your people came for us," Alex said slowly, the device translating. "Why? We are strangers to you." Jack seemed surprised by the question. "You needed help. That's enough reason." This simple answer confused the Nexar crew. In their culture, such actions required logical justification, resources spent, risks taken, benefits gained, all carefully calculated. The humans had diverted their mission, used valuable fuel and supplies, all for unknown aliens who might never be able to repay them. "Your ship," Kay asked Mark through the translator. "You said you were on a survey mission. Now you are delayed. Will you be punished?" Mark laughed. "We'll get some paperwork and maybe a lecture about schedules, but no one will question that." "We stopped to help," Kay frowned. "In Nexar space, such inefficiency would not be tolerated." "Efficiency isn't everything," Kelly said, joining the conversation. "Sometimes you do things because they're right, not because they're efficient." This concept seemed to trouble the Nexar deeply. Later, in the Horizon's dining area, both crews shared a meal. The humans had synthesized food compatible with Nexar biology, another gesture that surprised Alex. "We've managed to save most of your ship's systems," Jack explained. "The main engines are beyond repair, but we can tow you to the nearest station. From there you can contact your people." "The nearest station is 5 days away," Rob added. "We've already changed course." Ben, who had been speaking quietly with Sam, turned to Alex. "Their medical knowledge is unusual. They use intuition alongside science. Their bodies are simpler than ours, yet they adapt quickly to new environments." Tom leaned closer to Alex. "Can we trust them? Really trust them? No species is this helpful without reason." Alex watched the humans laughing together at the far end of the table. They were so different, noisy, emotional, inefficient in many ways. Yet they had done what no Nexar ship would have done, diverted their mission to save unknown aliens with no guarantee of reward. "I believe we can," Alex said finally. "They are different from us, but perhaps that is good. They saw our signal and chose to help. In their place, would we have done the same?" The question hung in the air, uncomfortable but necessary. "I have studied the device they gave us," Kay said quietly. "The translation technology, it is innovative. Not as precise as ours would be, but it learns and adapts. Like they do." Alex nodded slowly. "Perhaps we have much to learn from each other." Across the room, Captain Jack raised a cup and a toast, smiling at the Nexar crew. The humans had saved them from certain death, asking nothing in return except the opportunity to help. Alex raised a cup in return, a strange feeling growing, something like hope, but warmer. These humans, with their inefficient ways and emotional decisions, had done something remarkable. They had answered a call that no one else had heard. "Impossible," Kay said, shaking her head as she studied the schematics of the Starweaver's engine core. "The crystal matrix is completely shattered. There is no way to repair this." 3 days had passed since the rescue. The Horizon towed the EI's damaged Nexar vessel behind it as they traveled toward the nearest space station. Both crews had been working together, trying to understand what had happened and if repairs were possible. Engineer Kelly leaned over the table, studying the same schematics. Unlike Kay's slender blue fingers, Kelly's human hands were rough and marked with small scars, signs of someone who worked with real machinery, not just designs. "Nothing's impossible," Kelly said with a confidence that Kay found puzzling. "Just because it hasn't been done before doesn't mean it can't be done." Kay sighed. "The crystal matrix is the heart of our propulsion system. It must be perfect, grown, under exact conditions over many months. Even a small flaw would cause catastrophic failure." Kelly picked up one of the broken crystal pieces. "What if we don't need it to be perfect? What if we just need it to work long enough to get you home?" "Those are the same thing," Kay said. Kelly smiled. "Not to humans, they aren't." In the medical bay, Dr. Ben watched with fascination as Sam treated a small burn on Rob's hand. The first officer had injured himself while helping move equipment from the Nexar ship. "You're not using a healing matrix," Ben observed. "A what?" Sam asked, applying a simple bandage after cleaning the wound. "A programmed cellular accelerator," Ben explained. "It would close the wound immediately." Sam shrugged. "We don't have that technology. The body heals itself with a little help." "Inefficient," Ben said automatically, then caught himself. "I'm sorry. That was rude." Sam laughed. "No offense taken. It is inefficient. But it works. The body adapts, becomes stronger, around the healing site. Sometimes the slow way has advantages." Ben thought about this as he helped organize medical supplies. The humans accepted imperfection as part of life. They worked with it rather than trying to eliminate it completely. It was so different from Nexar thinking. On the bridge, navigator, Tom stood beside Captain Jack watching the stars. The human ship's navigation systems were less advanced than Nexar technology, but Jack guided the ship with a confidence that impressed Tom. "How do you know this is the best route?" Tom asked. "Your computers haven't calculated all possible paths." Jack tapped his head. "Some things you just feel. Experience, intuition, call it what you want. Sometimes you know things you can't explain." Tom frowned. "That is not logical." "No," Jack agreed. "But it works." He pointed to a cluster of stars ahead. "See that formation? Reminds me of a pattern I saw near a gravity well once. I'd steer a bit more to port, just to be safe." Tom checked his instruments. Nothing indicated danger. Yet he couldn't help but notice Jack changing course slightly, trusting something beyond data and numbers. Commander Alex found the humans constantly surprising. They worked hard but laughed often. They argued openly, but without lasting anger. They approached problems from angles that no Nexar would consider. Mark had created an improved version of the translation device, allowing both crews to communicate more freely. Alex used it now as the command crews gathered in the Horizon's conference room. "We've been examining the damage to your ship," Jack said. "The good news is most systems can be repaired once we reach the station. Life support, navigation, communications, all fixable." "And the bad news?" Alex asked. "The engine." Jack looked to Kelly, who stood to address the group. "The crystal matrix is beyond conventional repair," Kelly said. "But we think we've found an alternative solution." Kay appeared uncomfortable. "I told her it won't work. The crystals must be perfect." Kelly placed a container on the table and opened it, revealing the shattered remains of the Nexar engine core. "Perfection is overrated," she said with a smile. "What if we reconfigure the crystal fragments in a new pattern? They won't work like they did before, but they might generate enough power for limited propulsion." "That is not how our technology works," Kay insisted. "Maybe not how it's supposed to work," Kelly agreed. "But these crystals still have energy potential. We just need to arrange them in a way that creates a stable reaction." Alex looked at Jack. "Is this possible?" Jack shrugged. "Kelly has a talent for making things work when they shouldn't. I've learned to trust her instincts." "Instincts," Kay repeated, the word sounding foreign from her mouth. "Not calculations?" "Both," Kelly said. "The calculations tell us the limits. Instinct shows us how to work around them." For the next 2 days, the engineering teams worked on Kelly's idea. The Nexar engineers were skeptical. following procedures and protocols that had served their species for centuries. The humans were different. They tried ideas that failed, adjusted, tried again, working through breaks and sleeping in shifts. Kay watched Kelly work with growing interest. The humans' approach was chaotic by Nexar standards, but there was a method to it. Kelly talked to the machinery, patted it, treated it almost like a living thing. "Why do you do that?" Kay asked. "Do what?" Kelly looked up from the crystal alignment she was adjusting. "Speak to the equipment. Touch it unnecessarily." Kelly laughed. "Old habit. My first ship was a rust bucket that needed constant coaxing. I guess I learned that machines have personalities." "That is not rational," Kay said. "Maybe not," Kelly agreed. "But sometimes when nothing else works, a little sweet talk and a gentle touch does the trick." She tightened a connection and stepped back. "Let's try it now." The reconfigured crystal array was nothing like the original Nexar design. Instead of a perfect geometric formation, the crystals were arranged in an asymmetrical pattern that looked wrong to Kay's eyes. The human engineers had added materials from their own ship, conductors and stabilizers that weren't in the original plans. "Power it up," Kelly said. 20% only." Kay hesitated, then initiated the sequence. The crystal fragments began to glow, energy flowing between them along the new pathways. The readouts showed power building, unstable but present. "It's working?" Kay said, surprise evident in her voice. "Told you," Kelly said with a grin. "Not perfect, but good enough to get you home. We'll need to monitor it constantly and make adjustments, but it should hold." Kay stared at the improvised engine core. By Nexar standards, it was a crude solution, inelegant and temporary. Yet it worked when all Nexar knowledge said it should not. "I do not understand how you thought of this," Kay admitted. Kelly shrugged. "Humans are good at making broken things work. It's kind of our specialty." Later, Alex found Jack in the observation room, looking at the two ships joined together as they moved through space. "Your engineer has done the impossible," Alex said. Jack smiled. "Kelly would say she just did what needed doing. The Nexar would never have attempted such a solution," Alex admitted. "We would have followed protocol, waited for rescue, or accepted our fate." "Different approaches," Jack said. "Neither wrong, just different." Alex thought about this. "Your crew took risks to save us. You continue to take risks to help us. Why?" Jack considered the question. "Humans have a saying. A stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. Space is vast and dangerous. We all need help sometimes." The translation device struggled with some of the concepts, but Alex understood the meaning. The humans helped because they could, because they believed connection was valuable in itself. It was a simple idea, yet it challenged everything the Nexar had built their society upon. Efficiency, logic, perfection. These were the pillars of Nexar civilization. The humans offered something different: adaptation, improvisation, and an unexpected kindness that crossed the boundaries between species. As they stood watching the stars together, Alex wondered what other surprises these humans might have to offer. The space station appeared first as a small point of light in the distance. As the joined ships approached, it grew larger, a spinning wheel of metal and light, home to thousands of beings from dozens of species. "Frontier Station 12, Jack announced on the shared communication channel. "Not the biggest or the newest, but they have repair facilities and communications that can reach Nexar space." Commander Alex stood on the bridge of the Star Weaver, which now moved under its own power thanks to Kelly's improvised crystal engine. The ship limped along beside the horizon rather than being towed behind it. It wasn't pretty. The engine required constant adjustments, and they could only manage half their normal speed, but it worked. "We're being hailed," Lisa reported from the Horizon's communications station. The station controller's voice filled both bridges. "Horizon, we've been worried. You're 2 weeks behind schedule. What happened?" "Made some new friends," Jack replied easily. "Nexar research vessel in distress. We're bringing them in for repairs." There was a pause. "Nexar? Out here? That's unusual." So is finding survivors after 2 months adrift, Jack said. We'll need a repair bay for them and accommodations for their crew while they wait for pickup from their people. Understood, Horizon. Proceed to Docking Bay 3. We'll prepare for your arrival. News of the rescue spread quickly through the station. Humans were common in this part of space, but Nexar were rare visitors. By the time both ships docked, a crowd had gathered to watch. The 4 Nexar crew members stepped onto the station with mixed feelings. They were grateful to be alive, yet aware of how far they still were from home. And they were unsettled by the attention they received. Why are they staring? Tom asked quietly. They've heard about the rescue, Alex replied. It seems our story has traveled faster than we have. A station official approached, accompanied by several other beings. Commander Alex, I'm Administrator Park. We've arranged quarters for your crew and repair facilities for your ship. We've also sent word to the nearest Nexar embassy. They'll send transport for you within 2 weeks. 2 more weeks away from home. It was both a disappointment and a relief. 2 more weeks with these humans who had saved them, who continued to surprise them. Thank you, Alex said to the administrator, then turned to Jack. And thank you, Captain, for everything you and your crew have done. Jack smiled. We're not leaving just yet. We have our own repairs to make and reports to file. Besides, I think our engineers would riot if we tried to leave before seeing your ship fully functional again. In the following days, the reputation of both ships' crews grew. Stories spread about the human ship that had diverted its mission to save aliens they didn't know, and of the Nexar who had survived against impossible odds. Representatives from several species visited the repair bay where the Starweaver was docked, curious about the makeshift engine that shouldn't work, but did. Engineer Kay found herself explaining Kelly's improvised solution to fascinated technical experts. The human approach is unorthodox, Kay admitted to a group of engineers, but effective in ways we would not have considered. In the station's medical center, Dr. Ben collaborated with Sam, sharing knowledge that benefited both their peoples. Ben's precise understanding of biochemistry complemented Sam's practical approach to treatment. Navigator Tom spent hours in the station's stellar cartography lab, updating Nexar star charts with human exploration data. The humans had mapped regions the Nexar had never visited, using simpler but surprisingly accurate methods. For Commander Alex, the days were filled with meetings and preparations for the journey home. But in quiet moments, there were conversations with Jack, discussions about leadership, about the differences between their peoples, about the vastness of space and the unexpected connections it created. 10 days after their arrival at the station, a message came from the Nexar High Council. They want a full report, Alex told the Nexar crew as they gathered in their station quarters, including details of the human rescue and assistance. Will they understand? Ben asked. Will they see the value in what happened here? It was a valid question. The Nexar valued efficiency and logic above all else. The council might view the humans' actions as irrational, perhaps even suspicious. I do not know, Alex admitted. But I will tell them the truth, that these humans did what no Nexar ship would have done. They saved us when there was no logical reason to help, no benefit to themselves. And that their illogical methods fixed our unfixable ship, Kay added. Tom, who had been the most skeptical of the humans, nodded slowly. Perhaps there is a logic we do not yet understand, a wisdom in their approach that we have overlooked. The day before the Nexar transport was scheduled to arrive, both crews gathered in the station's observation lounge. Through the large windows, they could see both ships docked side by side, the sleek, precise lines of the Starweaver next to the more rugged, practical design of the Horizon. Jack raised a glass. To new friendships and safe journeys home. Everyone drank to the toast. The atmosphere was warm but tinged with the sadness of approaching farewell. Captain Jack, Alex said, stepping forward. On behalf of my crew and the Nexar people, I wish to present you with something. Alex handed Jack a small box. Inside was a crystal, similar to those used in the Nexar engine but smaller. It glowed with a soft blue light. This is a communication crystal, Alex explained. Modified according to what we learned from your engineer, Kelly. It is imperfect, by traditional Nexar standards, but perhaps better for it. When activated, it will allow direct communication between our ships, regardless of distance. Jack held the crystal carefully. I don't know what to say. Say that this is not goodbye, Alex replied. The universe is vast, but perhaps not vast enough to keep new friends apart forever. Kay approached Kelly, holding something wrapped in cloth. For you, she said, unwrapping it to reveal a tool made from Nexar metal. It is an adjuster used by our engineers. I have modified it to fit human hands. Kelly took the tool with reverence. It's beautiful. It is practical, Kay corrected, then added with what might have been a smile. But perhaps it can be both. As the evening continued, more gifts were exchanged. Star charts, medical knowledge, stories of home. The Nexar, who had never valued such informal connections, found themselves reluctant to see these relationships end. Before the gathering concluded, Alex addressed everyone present. When we were lost in the void, we believed no one would find us. We were wrong. The humans answered our call when no one else could hear it. They showed us that there are many kinds of logic in the universe, many paths to wisdom. Alex looked at the assembled crews, silver-blue Nexar beside pink-skinned humans, so different yet now connected by shared experience. What we learned from each other may be more valuable than any technology or star chart. The humans taught us that imperfection can be strength, that adaptation matters more than perfection, and that sometimes the most logical action is to help simply because you can. Jack smiled. And maybe you taught us something too. That precision has its place, that sometimes thinking things through beats rushing in. Perhaps, Alex agreed. The best path lies somewhere between our approaches. As they stood together, watching the stars, the rescued and the rescuers, they shared a simple truth. Space was vast and often dangerous, but it was less so when you didn't face it alone. The skies over Earth darkened as the massive ships entered the atmosphere. They came without warning, without message, just the sudden appearance of metal giants blocking the sun. The world's leaders scrambled to make sense of what was happening, but they had little time to react. Admiral John Reed stood on the bridge of the USS Freedom, Earth's newest aircraft carrier, watching the screens with a grim expression. His weathered face showed the strain of someone who knew they were outmatched. Sir, we have movement from the alien vessels, said Officer Ben White, his voice shaking slightly. They're deploying smaller craft. John nodded. He had expected this. Tell all ships to hold position. No one fires unless fired upon. The world waited, holding its collective breath as the first contact with alien life unfolded. But the aliens, calling themselves the Vorn, had not come to talk. The first blast hit New York, vaporizing the upper half of the tallest buildings. The second struck Beijing, and the third hit Moscow. Within hours, Earth's major military installations were smoking. Ruins. The organized resistance lasted less than 3 days. 1 week after their arrival, Emperor Kell of the Vorn Empire addressed the people of Earth through hijacked broadcast systems. His image, strangely humanoid, but with gray skin and eyes too, large for his face, appeared on every screen worldwide. People of Earth, the translation came through. Your planet is now part of the Vorn Empire. Your resistance has been noted and crushed. Your technology is primitive, but your bodies are strong. You will serve the Empire through your labor. Comply, and you will live. Resist, and you will not. John Reed watched the broadcast from a bunker deep under the Rocky Mountains, one of the few military facilities the Vorn had missed. With him was Colonel Mary Davis, her dark hair cut short and her eyes burning with determination. They think we're just good for heavy lifting, Mary said, disgust in her voice. They don't know humans very well. John turned to the small group of military personnel who had made it to the bunker. Only 26 people, but it was a start. The Vorn think they've won, he said. They struck first and they struck hard. But this war isn't over. Over the next few months, the Vorn established control centers in major cities. They began sorting humans by physical capabilities, sending the strongest to work in mines and the most agile to factories. Those who resisted disappeared. John and Mary built their resistance carefully. They established a secure communication network using old radio technology the Vorn overlooked. They gathered information about Vorn patterns and weaknesses. Most importantly, they found others who refused to accept defeat. Tom Parker, a former engineer with a talent for improvising weapons from scrap, joined them 3 months after the invasion. He brought with him knowledge of Vorn patrol schedules and the location of a lightly guarded supply depot. Their air cars run on some kind of crystal battery, Tom explained, showing them a stolen device. They need to recharge every 3 days. That's when they're vulnerable. The first resistance strike was small but significant. A team led by Mary attacked a Vorn patrol during recharge, capturing weapons and a communication device. They lost 2 people but gained valuable equipment, and more importantly, hope. News of the success spread through hidden channels. More people joined the resistance. Small cells formed across the globe, linked by John's radio network. They called themselves Humanity's Last Stand. 6 months after the invasion, John sat in the expanded bunker, now home to over 50 resistance fighters. Maps covered the walls, marking Vorn strongholds and patrol routes. Mary entered, bringing a young woman with her. "This is Lisa Chen," Mary said. "She worked as a translator for the Vorn in the Pacific Command Center. She has information." Lisa looked exhausted but determined. "They're planning something big," she said. "More ships are coming. They're turning Earth into some kind of forward base." John frowned. "Forward base for what? They already control Earth." "I don't know," Lisa admitted. "But they're scared. I've seen their commanders. When they think no humans are listening, they talk about something they call the coming storm. Whatever it is, it terrifies them." That night, John couldn't sleep. He stood outside the bunker entrance, looking at the stars now partially blocked by the massive Vorn ships in low orbit. Why would such a powerful empire be afraid? What could scare creatures who had technology, centuries ahead of humans? The answer came 2 weeks later when Tom managed to hack into a Vorn communication channel. The message was brief but chilling. "Advanced scouts report contact with devourer ships at the edge of the solar system. Estimated arrival, 6 standard cycles. Request immediate reinforcement." John gathered the resistance leaders. "The Vorn didn't come here just to conquer us," he explained. "They're running from something worse, and now that something is coming here." Mary looked at the others, then back at John. "So what do we do? Help the aliens who enslaved us?" "No," John said firmly. "We use this. The Vorn are distracted, preparing for this new threat. That's our chance to hit them harder, take back some ground." Tom raised his hand. "I've been studying their weapons. I think I can get some of them working for us." "Good," John nodded. "But we need more. Lisa, can you get back into their command center? We need to know exactly what we're dealing with." Lisa hesitated. "It's risky. Security is tighter now, but I'll try." As the meeting ended, John found himself alone with Mary. "You think we have a chance?" she asked quietly. John looked at the map of Earth, now marked with red dots showing Vorn control points and the smaller green dots of resistance strongholds. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I know one thing. The Vorn struck first, but they have no idea what humans are capable of when pushed to the edge." Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall, covering the scars of invasion in clean white. But under the peaceful blanket, Earth was preparing. The Empire had struck first, but they would soon discover they had awakened a danger they never expected: the unbreakable human spirit. 5 years passed under Vorn rule. Earth had changed. The once bustling cities now served as processing centers where humans were sorted and shipped to labor camps. The skies, once blue, took on a permanent gray tint from the Vorn industrial operations. Deep in the mountains, the resistance had grown. What started as a few dozen fighters had become a network of thousands. John Reed, now sporting a beard streaked with gray, studied a holographic map they had stolen from a Vorn command post. "The new sound weapon is ready," Tom Parker said, entering the command room. His hands were stained with grease and dark circles under his eyes showed his lack of sleep. "We've been testing it on the Vorn equipment we captured." Mary Davis looked up from cleaning her rifle. "Does it work?" Tom smiled for the first time in weeks. "Better than we hoped. Turns out the Vorn have extremely sensitive hearing. The right frequency doesn't just hurt them, it completely disables them." John nodded. This was the break they had been waiting for. "How many units can you make?" "With our current supplies, maybe 50. But they're small, easy to hide." Tom placed a device on the table. It looked like an old smartphone with extra wiring. "Press this button, and any Vorn within 30 feet will be on the ground, unable to move." Lisa Chen, who had risen to become their top intelligence officer, entered the room. "Perfect timing. I just got word from our spy in the London Control Center. The Vorn are planning a major gathering in 3 days. All high-ranking officers will be there." John stood up straighter. "This is it. Our chance to hit them where it hurts." The plan came together quickly. Teams would infiltrate the London meeting using the service tunnels beneath the old city. They would plant the sonic devices at strategic points and activate them simultaneously. In the confusion, they would capture as many Vorn officers as possible. On the day of the operation, John led the main team. They moved silently through the dark tunnels, Tom's devices distributed among them. Above, they could hear the heavy footsteps of Vorn guards. "Remember," John whispered, "we need prisoners. The more we learn about these devourers, the better prepared we'll be." Mary nodded, her face grim. "And if something goes wrong?" "Plan B," John replied. "Get out. Regroup at Point Charlie." They reached the access point beneath the building. One by one, they climbed up, emerging in a storage room. John checked his watch. 5 minutes until the meeting started. The team moved into position, planting the sonic devices in air vents and under furniture. John took the main conference room himself. As he placed the final device, he heard the doors open. Ducking behind a curtain, he watched as the Vorn officers filed in. At their head was a figure John recognized from propaganda broadcasts. General Dorn, the military commander of Earth operations. Taller than the others, with facial ridges that signified high rank in Vorn society. John waited until all were seated, then pressed the activation button on his device. Across the building, the other team members did the same. The effect was immediate and shocking. The Vorn officers clutched their heads, some falling from their chairs. Their normally composed faces contorted in pain, and strange gurgling sounds escaped their throats. "Move in," John shouted into his radio. The resistance fighters swarmed the room, quickly restraining the incapacitated aliens. General Dorn, though suffering, managed to reach for his weapon. Mary was faster, knocking it away and pressing her rifle to his head. "Don't move," she said coldly. What the resistance hadn't counted on was the Vorn's backup system. Alarms blared throughout the building and heavy security doors began to close. "We've got 5 minutes before reinforcements arrive." Tom's voice came through the radio. "Taking prisoners isn't going to work. There are too many." John made a split-second decision. "Fall back, grab any data devices you can find and get out." The retreat was chaotic. 2 resistance fighters fell to Vorn weapons as they escaped through the tunnels. But they had achieved something unprecedented. They had shown the Vorn were vulnerable. Back at the mountain base, Tom analyzed the captured data devices. His face grew increasingly concerned as he worked. "John, you need to see this," he finally said. On the screen was a star map with a pulsing red dot, moving slowly but steadily toward Earth's solar system. "It's the Devourers," Tom explained. "The Vorn have been tracking them for centuries. They're not just aliens, they're something else entirely. Energy beings that consume everything in their path. The Vorn have been staying one step ahead by sacrificing planets they conquer to slow the Devourers down." Mary's eyes widened. "They're planning to sacrifice Earth." Lisa pointed to another section of data. "Look at this. The Vorn have been here before, thousands of years ago. They did some kind of genetic experiments on early humans, then left. They came back because they discovered something in our DNA they didn't expect." "What?" John asked. "Resistance," Lisa replied. Humans develop resistance to threats faster than any species they've encountered. They thought we might be useful against the Devourers, but we were too wild, too unpredictable, so they decided to break us first. John stared at the red dot on the screen. How long do we have? Based on these calculations, Tom said grimly, 3 months. Maybe less. The command room fell silent. Then a young resistance fighter named Alex spoke up. So what's our plan? Do we fight both the Vorn and these Devourer things? John looked around at the faces watching him. These people had fought for 5 years, never losing hope. Now they faced an enemy that even the Vorn feared. First, we need to know exactly what we're dealing with, John said. Lisa, I want everything you can find about the Devourers in that data. Tom, keep working on the sound weapons. We need to make them stronger with longer range. Mary stepped forward. And the Vorn? John's expression hardened. The Vorn struck first. They thought they could conquer us and then sacrifice us. But they made one critical mistake. What's that? Alex asked. They gave us a common enemy, John replied. And nothing unites humans more than a common enemy. As the Resistance began their preparations, a Vorn ship broke orbit and headed toward the outer solar system. On board, General Dorn watched the long-range scanners with growing dread. The Devourers were coming and Earth's defenses were nowhere near ready. His mission had failed. What he didn't know was that Earth's greatest defense wasn't its technology or its weapons. It was the humans themselves now awakened to the greater threat approaching. The signal came in the middle of the night. A strange pulsing pattern detected at the edge of the solar system. Tom Parker was the first to notice it, his modified Vorn scanner picking up energy readings unlike anything he had seen before. John, wake up! Tom burst into the commander's quarters. You need to see this. John Reed rubbed his eyes and followed Tom to the monitoring station. The screen showed a wave pattern rising and falling in an unnatural rhythm. What am I looking at? John asked. I'm not sure, Tom admitted. But whatever it is, the Vorn are reacting to it. Their ships are moving, all of them. John watched as dozens of red dots representing Vorn vessels changed position on the tactical display. Most were heading away from Earth toward the outer planets. Get Lisa and Mary, John ordered, and bring that Vorn data we captured. Within an hour, the Resistance leadership gathered around the central table. Lisa Chen pointed to the energy readings. These match what was in the Vorn files about the Devourers, she said. But they're not supposed to be here yet. The Vorn calculations gave us at least another month. Mary Davis studied the ship movements. The Vorn are panicking. Look at this. They're pulling forces from all over Earth. Mining operations, processing centers, everything. It's our chance to strike, Alex suggested, his young face eager for action. John shook his head. No. First, we need to understand what we're facing. If the Vorn are this afraid, we need to know why. I have an idea, Lisa said quietly. The Vorn communication officer we captured last month. He started talking, trying to make a deal. Maybe he knows something. The prisoner was kept in a secure section of the mountain base. Officer Kren, as he called himself, had the typical Vorn appearance, tall, gray-skinned, with large eyes adapted for the dim light of their home world. But unlike most Vorn, he seemed afraid of humans. You've detected them, haven't you? Kren asked, as soon as John entered the cell. The Devourers. John was surprised by the directness. We've detected something. What can you tell us about them? Kren's large eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of stress in Vorn physiology. They are the end of everything. My people have fled them for generations, staying ahead by sacrificing worlds in their path. And Earth was next on the sacrifice list, Mary said coldly from behind John. Yes, Kren admitted. But it won't work now. They've arrived too early, before we finish the preparations. What preparations? John demanded. The energy collectors. The Devourers feed on planetary energy. The magnetic field, the core heat. All of it. We were building devices to channel that energy to make Earth more appetizing, to keep them occupied longer while we escape. Tom stepped forward. What exactly are these devourers? Are they organic like you, or us? Kren made a sound. That might have been a bitter laugh. They are nothing like any of us. They exist partly in this dimension, partly in others. They appear as swirling masses of energy and matter. Nothing stops them. Nothing hurts them. Everything has a weakness, John insisted. If they do, we haven't. Found it in 3 centuries of running, Kren replied. As they left the cell, the ground suddenly shook. An alarm blared throughout the base. What now? John shouted over the noise. Tom checked his scanner. The Vorn. They're launching something from their main ship. Hundreds of objects heading for cities all over Earth. They rushed to the command center. On the main screen, they watched as strange metallic spheres descended from Vorn ships landing in human population centers. What are they doing? Mary wondered. The answer came from an unexpected source. A global broadcast from Emperor Kell himself. People of Earth, the translation came through. A threat approaches that none can withstand. The Devourers come. We are activating emergency energy collectors in your cities. Do not interfere with them. They are your only hope of survival. He's lying, Lisa said. Those aren't to protect us. They're to make Earth more tempting to the Devourers. John made a decision. Tom, how many sonic weapons do we have ready? Almost 300 with the new production. Distribute them to all resistance cells. Target those energy collectors. And Lisa, get me a direct communication link to the Vorn command ship. You want to talk to them? Mary asked, surprised. I want them to know they're not the only ones with a say in Earth's fate, John replied grimly. It took 3 days to establish the link. By then, the first effects of the Devourer's approach were visible. Strange lights appeared in the sky. Electronic devices malfunctioned randomly. The weather became unstable, with storms forming and dissipating in minutes. John stood before the communication screen, his resistance leaders beside him. Emperor Kell's face appeared, his usual arrogance now tempered with fear. Human, the Emperor acknowledged. This is not the time for your primitive rebellion. This is exactly the time, John countered. Your plan to sacrifice Earth won't work. The Devourers arrived early. You're not ready. The Emperor's eyes narrowed. How do you know this? We know more than you think, and we have something you need. Knowledge of Earth that you don't have time to learn. What do you propose? John took a deep breath. A temporary alliance. We help you fight the Devourers, but on one condition. Earth becomes independent after the threat is gone. The Emperor's face showed no emotion. You assume there will be an after. The Devourers consume everything. You've been running for centuries, John said. Maybe it's time to stand and fight. A tremor ran through the base. On a side screen, they saw images from outside, the sky turning a strange purple color, with swirling patterns like oil on water. They're entering the atmosphere, the Emperor said quietly. You have no concept of what you face. Maybe not, John admitted. But we humans have a long history of facing impossible odds. And sometimes, we win. The Emperor stared at him for a long moment. Your species is strange. Even facing extinction, you bargain for freedom. Freedom is what makes us fight harder than any species you've ever conquered, John replied. Another tremor, stronger this time. Dust fell from the ceiling of the command center. Very well, the Emperor finally said. Show us what humans can do against the Devourers. If we survive, we will discuss your independence. As the communication ended, Mary turned to John. You trust them? Not at all, John said. But right now we have a common enemy, and nothing unites like a common enemy. Outside, the strange purple light grew stronger. The Devourers had arrived, and Earth's greatest test was beginning. The Empire had struck first, thinking humans would be an easy conquest and a simple sacrifice. Now they would learn what happens when humans fight not just for survival, but for their home. The meeting room felt tense. John Reed sat on one side of the table, flanked by Mary Davis and Tom Parker. Across from them sat General Dorn, Emperor Kell's right-hand commander, along with two Vorn scientists. Neither side fully trusted the other, but necessity had forced them together. Our scans show the Devourers have established 3 major entry points, General Dorn said, pointing to a holographic map of Earth. Here, here, and here. The glowing dots appeared over the Pacific Ocean, the Sahara Desert, and Antarctica. What are they doing at those locations? Mary asked, her voice tight with suspicion. One of the Vorn scientists, introduced only as Mech, answered. They begin by tapping into the planet's magnetic field. Then they start to break down matter itself, converting it to energy they can absorb. Tom studied the readings on his tablet. They're like living black holes, pulling everything apart on an atomic level. Exactly, Mech nodded. And once they start, they move quickly. We estimate 4 days before they reach major population centers. John leaned forward. What have you tried against them before? General Dorn's face showed a rare moment of emotion, something close to shame. Everything. Weapons that can destroy stars. Energy fields that can stop time itself. Nothing affects them. That's because you're thinking like Vorn, John said. Always using the same approach, bigger weapons, more power. But sometimes the answer is simpler. The general's large eyes narrowed. What do you suggest, human? John looked to Tom, who stood and addressed the group. We know the Vorn are sensitive to certain sound frequencies. Our sonic weapons exploit that weakness. What if the Devourers have similar vulnerabilities? They interact with our dimension through energy fields. There might be frequencies that disrupt those fields. The Vorn scientists exchanged glances. It's possible, Mech admitted. We never explored that avenue. Sound seems primitive compared to our energy weapons. Sometimes primitive works, Mary said with a hint of satisfaction. While you were conquering planets, we were still fighting with sticks and stones. We learned to use whatever works. General, Dorn stood suddenly. Enough discussion. The Devourers have changed course. They're headed for the largest human population centers first. The hologram shifted, showing the swirling energy masses moving toward Asia and North America. They're drawn to energy, Mech explained. Human cities produce enormous amounts of it. Then we need to move quickly, John said. Tom, you'll work with Mech on adapting our sonic technology. Mary, coordinate with resistance cells to evacuate people from the target cities. I'll work with General Dorn on deployment strategy. Mary grabbed John's arm as they left the room. You trust them to fight alongside us? After everything they've done? John's face was grim. I don't trust them, but I trust their survival instinct. Right now, that's enough. Over the next 2 days, an uneasy alliance formed. Vorn ships transported human resistance fighters to strategic locations. Tom and Mech worked around the clock, testing different frequencies against small energy samples collected from the edges of Devourer manifestations. On the 3rd day, the first combined human-Vorn defense line was established outside Beijing. Massive sonic emitters, built with Vorn technology but designed by human engineers, were positioned in a wide circle around the city. John stood at the command center with General Dorn, watching as the purple-black cloud of a Devourer approached. It moved like a living storm, tendrils of energy reaching out to touch buildings which crumbled into dust on contact. Activate the emitters, John ordered. A high-pitched whine filled the air, just at the edge of human hearing but causing the Vorn soldiers to flinch in pain. The sound waves, visible as ripples in the air, struck the Devourer entity. For a moment nothing happened. Then the entity paused, its movements becoming erratic. The outer edges of the energy cloud seemed to waver like a flame in wind. It's working. Tom's voice came through the communication system. Increase power to frequencies 7 through 12. The sound intensified. The Devourer entity began to contract, pulling its tendrils back into the main mass. Then, without warning, it surged forward with incredible speed. Evacuate, General Dorn shouted. All forces retreat. The defense line collapsed in minutes. The sonic emitters were torn apart, the material converted to energy and absorbed. Half the soldiers, both human and Vorn, never made it out. Back at Teal, the mountain base, the mood was dark. Reports came in from around the world. Similar failures at every defense point. The sonic weapons had affected the Devourers, but not enough to stop them. We were close, Tom insisted, his eyes red from lack of sleep. The frequency was affecting them. We just need more power, more precision. Emperor Kell's face appeared on the main screen, addressing both his general and the human leaders. The main Devourer entities will reach major population centers within 24 hours. We are preparing our remaining ships for evacuation. Evacuation? Mary stepped forward. You're running away? We're saving what can be saved, the Emperor replied coldly. Selected humans with useful skills will be taken. The rest will be left to die, John finished. Just like every other planet you've sacrificed. The Emperor's face showed no emotion. It is the way of survival. You would do the same. No, John said firmly. We wouldn't, and we're not done fighting yet. After the communication ended, John gathered his team. Tom, what exactly did you see when the sonic weapons hit the Devourer? Tom brought up the readings on the main screen. There was a reaction. The entity's energy field became unstable at these specific points. He highlighted several areas in the swirling mass. Lisa, who had been analyzing the data, spoke up. It's like hitting a bell. The sound waves created a resonance pattern in their energy structure. We just couldn't sustain it long enough or strongly enough. What if we don't need to cover the whole entity? John suggested. What if we just need to hit those vulnerable points with precise, focused bursts? Like acupuncture instead of a sledgehammer, Mary nodded. But we'd need to get much closer to target those points precisely. John looked at the map showing the advancing Devourers. Then that's what we'll do. Small teams, precise strikes. While the Vorn run away, we'll stand and fight. General Dorn, who had remained silent, finally spoke. Not all Vorn will run. Everyone turned to look at him in surprise. I will stay, and those under my direct command will stay as well. Why? Mary asked, suspicious. Because Emperor Kell is wrong, Dorn said simply. Running forever is not survival. It is merely postponing extinction. John extended his hand, a human gesture of agreement. After a moment's hesitation, General Dorn reached out and took it. Outside the base, the sky had turned a deep, unnatural purple. Strange lightning flashed between clouds that moved against the wind. The final battle for Earth was about to begin, fought by an alliance no one could have predicted. Humans and the very aliens who had conquered them, now standing together against an enemy neither fully understood. The Empire had struck Earth, first, thinking they found an easy conquest. Instead, they found the one species in the galaxy stubborn enough to fight the unbeatable enemy, and maybe, just maybe, win. The plan was dangerous but simple. Small teams would approach each Devourer entity with specially modified sonic devices. Each device would emit precisely calculated frequencies targeting the weak points Tom and Vorn scientist Mech had identified. This is a suicide mission, Mary said quietly as they loaded equipment into the vehicles. You know that, right? John nodded. That's why I'm leading the team to the primary target. And I'm coming with you, Mary responded, her tone making it clear this wasn't open for discussion. General Dorn approached with his elite Vorn soldiers, their usual armor replaced with lighter gear that let them move faster. My team is ready. We will take the Pacific entity. Tom finished adjusting the final sonic device. Unlike the earlier versions, these were focused emitters, concentrating all their power into narrow beams that could pierce the Devourer's energy field. These need to hit exactly the right spots, Tom explained to the team leaders. I've programmed the targeting systems, but they'll need manual fine-tuning on site. Lisa stepped forward. I've coordinated with resistance cells worldwide. People are moving to the designated safe zones, as far from the Devourer's paths as possible. How long will those zones stay safe? Alex asked. Lisa's face was grim. If we fail, maybe 3 days. The mountain base, once their sanctuary, was too close to one of the Devourer entities now. As they prepared to leave, John took one last look at the place that had been their home and headquarters for years. "Ready?" Mary asked, joining him by the entrance. "As ready as anyone can be to face the end of the world," John replied. The convoy departed in 3 directions. John and Mary led the largest team toward the devourer that had formed over North America. It had grown to an enormous size, covering most of the Midwest with its swirling purple-black mass. They set up their position on a hill overlooking what had once been a small town. The buildings were half consumed, looking like partially melted wax figures. The air shimmered with strange energies and compasses spun wildly, pointing in impossible directions. "Status report," John called over the radio. "Pacific team in position," General Dorn reported. "The entity is approximately 5 miles from our location and approaching. European team ready," came Alex's voice. "We've got visual contact."